Welcome to the first edition of The Verdict. This is a governance program that will be coming at 17:45 on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday. Ahead of the August 12 general elections, the program has been dedicated to stakeholders in the electoral process and those aspiring to be leaders. Today's topic of discussion is themed the electoral process and leadership roles. Your host, I'm Patrick Soko, and my guest on the program is the Foundation for Democratic Process, FODEP Executive Director. FODEP has been around for a while, especially when it comes to matters of governance and the electoral process. We would like to find out what is the role of FODEP in the electoral process.
Thank you so much. As you have rightly noted, we've been there from inception. I think from 1992. That's when we were formed. In fact, we were formed as a result of the monitoring activities of the church and civil society. There was that coalition which came together to monitor, you see, the first multi-party elections. That's how the MMD come into power. Because as you know, Zambia reverted to multi-partyism in 1991. So immediately after that election, there was a general feeling from the founders of the institution that time that instead of just going into oblivion, they were going to constitute that coalition into the Foundation for Democratic Process. And so that is the genesis of the FODEP. In terms of our role, it's quite mammoth. Firstly, our core mandate is to strengthen democratic governance in Zambia, and we do so in a number of ways, in a number of strategies. And one of it is through effective participation in elections. And that participation has also several components. One of it is monitoring, and we are associated with monitoring over the years, and we are good at that, and I think we've built some reputation around that. But also, we carry out voter education, creating awareness to the general populace about the importance of exercising their right, to participate in elections, their right to choose out of their own free will the people that they want to govern the country in intervals of 5 years. But also, we do carry out, from the findings of our monitoring activities, we package that in the form of conclusions and recommendations. And then this is the material that we use, or the evidence that we use in our advocacy. And we've managed to engage our stakeholders, the ECZ, cooperating partners, and the government, to influence the electoral framework, the legal framework that supports credible, free and fair elections. And I can cite some examples like enshrining of the date for elections actually emanated from our advocacy, not just for the alone, but in partnership with like-minded civil society organizations and also the church. Getting back to majoritarian system of electing a president, that came out of our advocacy together with other partners in the civil society. Yeah.
Okay, so following your preamble, we'd also like to find out, is FODEP going to be participating in terms of the monitoring of this year's general elections and other activities?
Yeah. We're trying to, although it's been very difficult to mobilize resources, I think the resource envelope from the partners has actually dwindled, but also because of COVID, we've been told. But we are trying to mobilize resources, and we will deploy monitors, but we may not deploy monitors all over. Of course, we know that we are working in partnership with other CSOs like CCMG, AVAP, OIV and others, but we will participate, yes.
And definitely this year is actually a crucial year for Zambia, because as you rightly put it stressed that we'll be holding the general elections, and more political parties want to be heard in these elections. So we also want to find out in the build-up to the electoral, to the poll day, how would you rate the participation in as far, or how would you rate the preparations in as far as the ECZ party is concerned?
Okay, thank you so much. I think we haven't done so well in terms of preparing ourselves to host the elections. I think the ECZ went to sleep, you know. They had a lot of time, you know, from the last election to now. That was a lot of time. They could have done a lot of activities. But then they let it, you know, too late. They began the preparation, the activities too late. And one of it is, you know, the voter registration, you know. I think that wasn't handled well, you know. And the time that they gave wasn't enough. You know, by law, Section 7 of the Electoral Process Act of 2016 compels the ECZ, or provides that voter registration should be done on a continuous basis, you know. But over the years we have failed. But this is something that they should have done much better in terms of allocating more time, even 3 to 4 months. That should have captured a lot more eligible voters. Of course, the reason has been COVID, but COVID wasn't there until March last year, so they should have done something. I think in terms of the electoral calendar, then this is so tight. We've seen even the period for voter registration has been very, very short, you know. And yet we had a lot of time. And when we realized that COVID was going to be part of us, we were going to do things under the new normal. Because you are not going to suspend everything just because of COVID. I mean, here we are working.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the preparations from the stakeholders, from the politicians, the political parties, I think they are doing something. We've seen they've had conventions, they have put in place leaders, but also they are doing primary elections, you know, selecting, you know, candidates that are going to contest elections. But also what is worrying as we go towards the election is the premature campaigns. You know, some political parties are now in full gear, you know, and dishing out here and there gifts, donations, you know. But I think they need to tone down, because the ECZ will officially announce that this is now the window for campaigns, and that will be 3 months before the actual poll.
And recently we just had the voter verification exercise, and there was apathy. And what are the possible consequences of that, especially that people may go there and they discover their details are not tallying?
Yeah, we were very concerned about the voter verification exercise, because of the time that wasn't enough. We feel that the time wasn't adequate, and ECZ and stakeholders did not do a lot of you know, awareness raising amongst the voters, you know. I think we should speculate here that government hasn't adequately funded the ECZ, because apart from the adverts, they should have also gone out. We know they can't call meetings, but they can go around the compounds with a PA system, you know, just talking about the importance of this exercise, that if people don't go to verify and they find on that, the actual date, the polling day, they find there's some missing details, they cannot be allowed. There will be no opportunity for that, because that day is just a day when you go in there, you produce your credentials, and they conduct you to the booth and you vote. You can't start arguing there. If you find that your name is wrongly spelled, you can't. So the opportunity that they had was the verification period. But we feel that there wasn't enough awareness raising, and there wasn't enough publicity. But also, there's now digital verification and these other things. People are not conversant with those things, and the weakness of the digital platform is that you can't force people, you can't force people to go to log in and to start the verification until there's a lot of massive awareness raising. Then you can achieve what you want.
Then we have seen other stakeholders like the Christian Churches Monitoring Group, CCMG, calling for targeted voter registrations, that is in areas with low registration, such as Southern Province, Central and Muchinga provinces. Do you think it is feasible to undertake such a process?
Now, Patrick, look, this is a very noble proposal from colleagues at CCMG. And, this is something that the ECZ can evaluate and see its merits, And if there's opportunity, then they can engage, they can go into what has been suggested, or they can carry out what has been suggested. But over the years, we've seen some stubbornness from our colleagues at ECZ. I think ECZ takes time to take in suggestions from stakeholders, We don't know why. Maybe one day people should just say that we are not voting, let the ECZ vote. Because we realize that the ECZ is the organization or institution that is mandated to conduct elections, to manage elections according to law. But there are also other stakeholders in the electoral process, and ECZ cannot manage elections alone. For instance, cooperating partners come in to provide some resources to them, Those are stakeholders, Civil society comes in, international observer missions come in to observe and to monitor the electoral process so that they ensure credibility, fairness, and also that the process is free, This is how it works. But usually ECZ will isolate themselves. Of course, we saw a little bit of consultation in the run-up to the elections, but that's not enough, So we support CCMG but the only problem is it may be biased. What about the other areas? So it's just incumbent upon the ECZ to consider, revisiting this exercise. And if there are possibilities, this can be done, They can deploy their staff, and maybe even for a week, we see what happens.
Do you also share the view that ECZ must release the electronic register and subject it to an independent audit?
I was going through some recommendations from international observers. I think the EU, the AU, and the Commonwealth, and even SADC. It is very clear. One of their strongest recommendations is that to promote transparency, to ensure credibility of this voter registration exercise, but also the register or the voters' roll, there is need for independent verification through an audit, and it gives confidence to stakeholders, especially when you discard the entire voters' roll and you begin building a new one. Sure, you should subject your work, your output, to an independent verification through an audit. But we've been told that no, we can't do this. ECZ is the only mandated institution. Yeah, you are mandated, but then there's some oversight from stakeholders so that you are held to account. This is how it should be done.
Since you have had experience, especially in as far as the electoral process is concerned, would also want to find out how would you have interacted with previous administrations of the ECZ and the current ones. Would want to find, in terms of consultation, how are they faring? Are they doing enough?
We can say it's average. Yeah, it's average. But in the past, it wasn't the way it is. We've seen some bit of consultation. They've summoned us, or they have invited us to their fora. We've had some physical and also virtual meetings. But the weakness of this engagement is that they already have an agenda, and they just inform you, and there's no room for intervention. And if you suggest, it will be noted, but you don't see anything being done. So it's not a quality engagement. The quality engagement is one where you throw out the agenda for suggestions, and also if there are proposals, you take them in, but not very much from the ECZ, unfortunately, not very much.
Okay. On this particular platform, we'll be hosting a number of aspiring leaders, and we just want you to help us educate our viewers and just remind others what are the respective roles. We'll start with the councillor.
Okay, the councillors have actually a mammoth role, at their level. And the Constitution actually provides for these roles. It's Article 152 of our Republican Constitution, So they are charged with the role of administering the district, and also they need to oversee the programs, the projects in the district. But also importantly, they have to come up with bylaws. They pass resolutions, They act collectively, and they need to account vertically, that is to the central government, but also horizontally, that is where they are coming from the communities. So you find that they are the link between the community and the local authorities. And so they represent the interests of the communities, Issues, the needs of the community are brought to the ward development committees. The ward development committees will feed into the councillor, and the councillor will feed into the full council meeting, and resolutions are passed in that way. Yeah.
Then just based on that, we also see that the ward development committees, these are important institutions because they are at the level where the community members are able to participate in the governance system. But we see the composition of the governor of the ward development committees being politicized. Is that should be the case?
No, that is actually a danger to democracy and also development. These structures within our sector devolution are not supposed to be politicized. But what we have seen over the years, and especially with the current regime, is that at all levels, the institution of presidents is politicized, PCs, permanent secretaries politicized, and these structures are politicized, markets politicized, and they are full of cadres, So there is decisions are not bipartisan, they are very, very partisan. And if you don't belong, you don't affiliate to those that are in government, then that's a problem, They are not supposed to be, There should be no politicization of these structures, At local level, everybody should be given an opportunity to participate in the governance of the community, you know, so that together, in a bipartisan manner, issues are discussed, the needs assessment is done, and the needs are floated to the council for onward, you know, execution of programs or planning by the council, so that then development can be seen to be bottom up. You know, that's how it's supposed to be. But you find that these institutions are now in the hands of cadres. This is sad, and eventually it may lead to state capture if we are not careful in Zambia, because then you have to belong to the ruling elite in order, you know, to access even the services, and this is sad.
That brings us to the role which a council, a chairperson or mayor has in the governance structure. Okay,
very, very mammoth, because he's the figurehead. He's the father, she's the mother, you know, of the municipality or the council, you know, and therefore they have to provide the guidance, they have to provide the leadership, and, you know, these are civic leaders. So it doesn't matter whether you were elected on the PF ticket or the UPND ticket or the DP ticket. You are a civic leader, you are a community leader. You're supposed to cater for the interests of everyone. And so the mayor's parlor or the council chairperson's office is supposed to be open to everybody, and they should have an open door policy where they welcome everybody. Where there is a caste, where there is a tie, when councillors are voting, these are expected to exercise their casting power, so that they break the tie. You know, so these are some of the things that the mayor, the councillor, the council chairperson does. Yeah.
Then we have seen the mayor is elected, but the district commissioner is not. But we have seen conflicting roles between the two. Okay. But how can we harmonize that as a country?
I think under the decentralization policy, there's an attempt to harmonize. You know, yeah. But what the policy says is that there will be a government representative in the decentralized structure. This one, obviously, is the DC. They have underscored the importance of a link between the district and the central government, of course, through the provincial, you know. So they have, at some point, there were serious submissions that let's do away with the DC, especially that these departments, government departments, are being devolved now to the council, you know. So why should we have the double roles of these leaders? It will conflict, you know, the governance structure. But then they have said that they cannot do away completely with somebody who links up with central government. But then the role of the council under the sector devolution is very clear. They have taken over the development of the district, because development activities are supposed to be done at district level, and they are falling in the decentralized governance system. They are falling under the council, and so you have the Minister of Education, let's say the DEBS, becoming the Director of Education under the council. The Ministry of Health at that level, the head of the ministry at the district level. I think the district medical officer becomes the Director of Medical Services, you know, at that level. All these are tourism, local tourism there, community development, all these will fall under the council, you know. And so the role of the chairperson or the mayor and also the town clerk and the council secretary have actually doubled. And this is something that has now been enshrined in the constitution. Mm-hmm. It's there, you know. And there shouldn't be any interference from central government. The role of the provincial administration is simply to monitor And the role of central government is policy direction, you know. But in terms of the autonomy, one of the characteristics of sector devolution is that central government devolves or transfers functions, responsibilities, authority, and resources to the lower structures, which are the councils. Yeah.
Interesting. Just now we'll take a break.
And bananas. Working, waiting, this what you've been praying for. We testify, we celebrate.
Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Cabinet Channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay
We
tuned.
testify. We celebrate. For all you've done, Lord. We give you all the praise. Oh, we testify. We celebrate. Oh, Lord. We give you all the praise.
Making GoTV payments is easier than you think. But first, you have to log in. First of all, open the GoTV app, then select your country. Fill in your surname or cell phone number, and then your IUC number. That's it. You can log in. Welcome to your home page. Now click on Pay Now. Select Make a Payment. Next, you will be asked how much you wish to pay. You can do this by clicking on the space next to the kwacha sign and entering the desired amount. All the details of your payment, including account details and amount you are paying, will appear. Make sure everything is in order. Now click on the Ting button under Choose Payment option. When the Ting window pops up, click on OK and then Pay Now. Now, select Preferred Card Payment or Mobile Money option. When the Make a Payment window opens, click on the pink Pay Now button. Now, you simply authorize the payment by clicking on Send Prompt, which will send a prompt to your mobile number. Once you've received the prompt on your phone, simply enter the unique PIN and you are done. GoTV. Love it.
Okay. You are watching The Verdict, and our guest on the program is the FODEP Executive Director, Mr. George CHIMEMBE. We are discussing the electoral process and leadership roles. Well, I haven't talked about the roles of the councillor and the council chairperson or mayors. It gets us to the one other important position, especially in the governance system of our country, which is the role of a member of parliament. Help us understand what is the role of a parliamentarian.
Yeah, this is quite mammoth, Patrick, and it's provided for under Article 60, Article 63 of our Constitution. Basically, and primarily, their role is to come up with legislation. Collectively, they pass laws, you know, the acts of Parliament, and they can also delegate, you know, so that secondary legislation is also passed, through SIs, statutory instruments, and all those. Yeah. They also have the role of representing their constituencies. They have to connect with their communities, and nowadays we've seen that Parliament has modernized, because we do have now permanent offices, constituent offices, and they have permanent staff that are employed. They are there, during working hours throughout the week, and they receive issues, complaints from the members of the constituents, and they document those, and the MP from time to time is supposed to go back to the communities, to check on what is happening in terms of the projects, the use of CDF, and generally the development that is being carried out in the constituents. And then they will be also picking the issues, the needs of the constituents, and then bring these to the floor of the House for debate. The other role that they have collectively is, to approve the budget, to appropriate finances, to the various sectors in the economy. Very, very important. But also they provide oversight, on government, and this is done through the committee, the committee system. There are various committees. One of the most celebrated one or popular one is the PAC,
Exactly.
where government officials, permanent secretaries are invited, and
Yes.
they are grilled there. That's holding, government to account.
Yeah,
That's performing oversight role by these members of parliament. Yeah, but also because we all of us cannot go into that august house. What we have is not direct democracy; it's representative democracy. It's indirect. So these are people that represent us, and they represent our interests in that august house. Yeah, basically this is what they do, and also they ratify the appointments which are made by His Excellency the President. Yeah.
But do you think this basic civic education is being ably interpreted by our citizens and some members of parliament? Do you think they understand the roles?
Well, maybe to some extent, but not all of them, because we have seen that there are MPs who have been in there and they have never spoken. Apart from their maiden speech, the rest of the time they will just be asking for water, and watching the proceedings. That's not the role of an MP. An MP at the parliament buildings, there are researchers there, who are engaged to research on different aspects of the issues that come on the floor of the House. And so these members of parliament are supposed to be actively participating in those debates, so that they effectively represent the interests of their constituents. That's what they are supposed to do. I think there are some who are outstanding in that august house. You can even tell that these know what they are doing. They know their roles, and they get you, the media, you follow them, so that people can appreciate what they are doing in their constituencies. And you can even see, and I think this is the importance of the backbenchers, especially the opposition. They need to be on top of things in the House so that they grill government, especially during the morning of Friday. when the vice president takes to the floor. You know, they're supposed to raise concrete issues, pertinent issues affecting the nation. And there we have seen that even sometimes the vice president has been politicking on the floor of the House, which is unfortunate, you know. We've seen that sometimes for us, she hasn't been very consistent in terms of providing guidance to the House.
Then we've seen the people, some members of parliament actually have difficulties visiting their constituencies because people will be asking them for money and these other things. They think it is their responsibility to provide for everything, funerals, these other things. Do you think the people understand what these people should do, or what should be leading to that development?
Yeah. No, I think that we need a lot of civic education around the roles of, MPs. I think Caritas Zambia, FODEP, I think that Korea, we've tried, to publicize the roles, even to document, to produce information, education and communication materials, for circulation. We've held meetings, but we still have to do more to educate our people on the role of the MP, By the way, they are also supposed to lobby for development through the debate. They are not supposed to take personal money. It's money that is appropriated, let's say through the CDF, or the World Development Fund, or some other projects, But we've seen people abusing these leaders. Sometimes the leaders open themselves because they want to buy votes, So they open themselves, they voluntarily start giving money. I know that there are some MPs who have become unpopular at grassroots or at community level because they haven't been, they are deemed to be stingy, But there are all those other MPs with open arms,
exactly.
And they give, they give to their, but it's not supposed to be, because it opens the way or the floodgates to corruption, voter buying, and also embezzlement of public resources, because you want to cushion what you spent from your personal coffers. And so you become susceptible to corrupt elements, to corrupt activities, and so this should be discouraged, They can go to some length, but not to the full length, because then they are going to clearly become corrupt and they'll be stealing public resources, even from the CDF, because they want to cushion what they spent on the people.
Just on the issue of vote buying, what constitutes vote buying, especially during this time around?
Actually, what we are seeing around is, or amounts to vote buying, because vote buying happens when, first of all, it's illicit, it's a corrupt activity, or it's a corrupt practice by politicians who want to spend, in terms of monies, or even donations, or even empowerment programs during an election year, because they want to influence the voting pattern of the voters. They want them to vote in a particular way, essentially to vote for them. So they will come with the money, they will dangle the money, they will dangle the carrot, so that people get. I saw in Ndola, one of the constituencies where during the voter registration, an MP went there and addressed some sort of mean rally and started dishing out meal, cooking oil, and money, That's voter buying. Actually, what we are seeing from our colleagues in the PF is actually clear vote buying. They are buying voters so that people vote for them. They are not doing it for anything. This is a campaign year. So everything that they are doing in terms of empowerment, okay, why doesn't it come from the existing government structures and government programs? Because they are existing government programs. Why should it be personalized as a presidential initiative. And where is the money now coming from? That's why we are even demanding accountability, transparency, so that they reveal the sources of these monies, which are actually even distorting the economy, because this is money which is not even accounted for, because we don't know where it is coming from, and we don't know where they are channeling it. And recently, we even saw that being extended to the correctional facilities, the president himself donating to Mukobeko. That's voter buying, to say the least, because these are people that are going to vote. We saw the prisoners even pleading with the president that no, we have reformed, those of us who have reformed can be released. This is a form of voter buying, and I think it should come to an end. But then the law has a lacuna. It's weak, because the ECZ cannot do anything until the three months campaign window. That's when they can move in with their fragile electoral code of conduct. Then they try to reprimand. I think there is some amendment now. They are trying to reinforce the mechanism for clamping down on these corrupt practices during elections. But still, we need to do more, so that we render the electoral process more credible.
What would be your word of advice for those who are aspiring to be leaders in the next government?
These who are aspiring should stop voter buying or vote buying forthwith. They should stop. I think we need to have a clean, electoral process where people focus on issues. They debate issues, especially those that you are inviting later on here. Let them bring the truth and nothing but the truth. We've seen a lot of lies in the past. People thriving on lies or half-truths. I think that shouldn't characterize our campaigns. Let our campaigns be issue-based. Even the pronouncements that we are making, the promises, let them be evidence-based. Demonstrate. If you are going to say we are going to create employment for the youth, I think the how aspect becomes very crucial. We need to address that. Then we'll be convinced that you are the right person. Yeah.
We also want to get your ultimate expectations as the August 12 fast approaches as a FODEP. What are your expectations throughout this process?
The expectations from everybody, including us, are very high. First of all, we want an election which will be deemed credible, free, and fair. But also, we expect that the ECZ should deliver on their mandate, so that eventually all stakeholders will be able to point to them that yes, they have delivered. There could have been a few challenges here and there, and they are always there, but they were minimized, they were kept to a minimum, and stakeholders are able to accept the outcome of these elections. We know that the issuance of NRCs and the voter registration plus the verification have been chaotic, to say the least. But because a lot of people were left out because of the time. We know that there were issues of the kit, which was 40, and they could not capture some people. And a lot of people were left out, actually. So we expect the ECZ to do amends, to make amends as we go towards the August 12 pause, but also stakeholders like the Zambia police. How are they going to, apply the law, especially the Public Order Act, and also now the COVID measures? In the past, we've seen how biased they have been. They've been shielding those from the ruling party, and they have been allowing them, When it comes to the colleagues on the other side, they have come with full force, riot gear, to stop them. And in the end, this is where we had even people being, innocently innocent lives being lost because of abuse of office of the Zambia police. I think stakeholders like civil society should also carry out their massive sensitization. The cooperating partners, where is the money? There isn't enough money to carry out our activities as civil society. We can't do these things if there isn't enough money. Traditional leaders should keep their lane. We are seeing a lot of abuse of the traditional leaders. They are a conduit for vote buying, you know. And what is happening is that now they are openly being partisan. This is against the provision of the law. If they have to become partisan, then they have to abdicate their thrones and become full-time politicians. Youths, I think youths could be conduits for peace building, conduits for messages of peace and goodwill, not violence. So we don't expect that these youths should be used for violence. Women, let them come in numbers and participate, and let political parties adopt them. Persons with disabilities, let them come on board, you know, because they need to be there. And when they are called on board, let them also be available, and so that we can have an inclusive electoral process for everyone. Have I left anyone?
Probably you have catered for everyone.
Yeah.
At least the major ones, the youths, traditional leaders, the church.
And the government, the church should also, they are part of civil society, but also the government should not be putting their hand in an autonomous body like the ECZ, you know. And in future, we want to start advocating for ECZ to fall under Parliament, so that they are completely delinked from the executive, because there is interference from the executive, you know. In other places, that's the arrangement. You know, all these institutions of governance, most of them, including the Auditor General, should be linked to Parliament, you know. And in future, where government is, maybe we are digressing, but where the president appoints, like in the USA, Biden would appoint a judge, but he has no constitutional power to remove that judge. So there is no allegiance to the president, because it's Congress which takes over the impeachment process. Have you seen? This is the arrangement. This is the modern way of doing things that we should do, embrace in Zambia. Then truly this will be a democratic state.
Well, we would like to thank you for making time to interact with us, our listeners and our viewers.
Thank you so much, Patrick, and thank you so much, viewers out there.
Well, we have come to the end of the program, but be sure to join us on the next edition of The Verdict. This has been Patrick Soko. Stay tuned.